Search your recent memory and be brutally honest with yourself. See if you recognize yourself in the silent terror of this scene. Imagine that a colossal event, one designed to definitively shake the foundations of your life, has just happened. It could be the tragic end of a long-term relationship, an unexpected dismissal, a heavy bereavement, or even the complete opposite. The realization of that monumental achievement you've spent the last decade pursuing. What do society, common sense, and biology expect of you in that split second? You're expected to break down in convulsive sobs, or to jump and scream with euphoria until you lose your voice. But when the impact of reality finally hits you, a desolate and silent phenomenon occurs. You look inside your own chest and realize it's completely hollow. There's no sadness, there's no joy, there's no anger, there's absolutely nothing. There's only a frigid plain, an anesthetized silence. It's as if you were watching your own life on television, on mute, sitting on a stranger's living room sofa. You force a reaction. You squeeze your eyes shut, searching for a tear, trying to fake a smile with trembling facial muscles just to please the audience. But the unconfessable truth is that a thick, soundproof glass wall has descended between you and the world. And then, guilt suffocates you. You lock yourself in your room, stare at the mirror, and your mind whispers, "What's wrong with me? Have I become a monster? A cold, empty person incapable of love?" But the real psychological terror, that bizarre paradox that makes you certain you're going insane, happens 3 days later. It's an ordinary Tuesday. The sun is shining. No threat looms over your life. You go to make coffee in the kitchen, and due to a stupid mishap, the cup slips and shatters on the floor. Faced with this completely harmless scene, your knees buckle. You collapse to the floor and sob uncontrollably. A desperate, violent, and disproportionate cry, as if the universe had ended amidst those shards of pottery. You felt absolutely nothing in the face of a great tragedy, but you collapsed miserably because of spilled coffee. If you live as a hostage to this unhealthy roller coaster, oscillating between sepulchral lethargy regarding the big things and absolute despair over the tiny things, psychiatry has a clinical name for your condition: emotional numbness or affective blunting. I know you're terrified to admit this aloud, fearing the relentless scrutiny of those who would say you urgently need to learn to deal with your emotions or practice gratitude. But allow me to tear off those cowardly labels right now and give you a neuroscientific diagnosis so liberating it will lift a weight off your shoulders today. Your numbness doesn't mean your soul has dried up or that you've lost the ability to feel. The most majestic and painful irony of your mind is that you haven't become an ice cube from a lack of feelings. Your chest has become numb for the exact opposite reason. You felt too much with colossal intensity for an unbearable amount of time. Your chronic apathy isn't the absence of emotion. It's the masterpiece of biological self-preservation of a nervous system that was a millimeter away from melting. Today, we're going to perform an autopsy on your mental anesthesia. I'll prove why your brain deliberately pulled the plug on your emotions, explain the cruel physical mathematics behind that damned cup of coffee, and hand you the key to rebooting your system in peace. Take a deep breath. Release the weight of this absurd guilt. You have my official permission not to force a smile while you listen. Just come with me. To untie the knot of this emptiness that dominates your stomach, we need to resort to the most brilliant metaphor in engineering: a house's safety circuit breaker. Imagine your building's electrical system as the wiring of a building. It's designed to withstand a limit load. In a balanced life, you turn on the lights, switch on the television, and the energy flows harmoniously. But what happens if you simultaneously turn on 3 microwaves, 4 hairdryers, and the electric shower at maximum power? The wiring will overheat dramatically. If the current continues to flow, the entire building will catch fire. In the millisecond before catastrophe, the fuse box makes a sharp crackling sound. The circuit breaker trips and the house plunges into absolute darkness. Pay close attention. The blackout doesn't mean the house is broken. It proves the security system worked flawlessly. Everything goes dark on purpose to save the structure from total destruction. That's what your mind surgically did to you. In recent years, you operated under the maximum lethal stress load. You silently swallowed worries, sustained the unrealistic expectations of others, served as an emotional dumping ground for your family's problems, and swept excruciating pain under the rug. Your mental wiring boiled under the weight of undigested hyper-empathy. When the big news of your life arrived, whether tragedy or extreme euphoria. It was merely the last piece of heavy equipment plugged into the socket. Your amygdala, in an act of pure organic intelligence, calculated that if you processed that pain at maximum power, your psyche would suffer irreversible collapse. The circuit breaker tripped. Science calls this the dorsal vagal state. The world went silent, and general anesthesia took over. You are not an insensitive monster. You simply activated maximum safety mode to prevent your heart from exploding. The problem is that constantly feigning feelings you don't have, forcing tears at funerals and artificial laughter at parties just to avoid seeming weird, is an unbearable social charade that consumes your last drop of vital energy. And since your mind is dead tired, desperately begging for a refuge where it's not forced to perform any emotion, I have a vital invitation for you. Transform this channel into your official sensory restroom and click the subscribe button right now. Do you know why subscribing to this channel is the most compassionate thing you can do for your own biology today? Because the world out there demands uninterrupted reciprocity from you. Society demands that you cry, react, and be indignant on demand to prove you're alive. In here, the law of survival is different. By subscribing, you send a biochemical truce command to your brain. We've found a safe haven, a dimly lit room where I have the inalienable right to be dormant, where the video creator doesn't judge me for my emptiness, leave the monumental burden of decoding neuroscience and human trauma on my shoulders. I'll take over the shift for you. Your only mission here is to exist in your silence. Press that button, sit comfortably, and have the unwavering certainty that, as long as you lack the strength to feel, your anesthesia will be 100% validated and protected by me. Have you secured your place in our hideout? Excellent. Because now we're going to uncover the brilliant reason why you cry oceans over a simple spilled coffee. Why does apathy shield you like a tank in the face of grief, but make you sob when the rice burns on the stove or someone cuts you off in traffic? The answer lies in the physics of the fluids of our mind, surface tension. Imagine your anesthetized brain as a glass of water filled to the brim, a tiny fraction of a millimeter from overflowing. It operates at 99% of its stress capacity. If you throw a huge rock into that glass, the major trauma, your brain assesses the lethality of the impact, creates an invisible titanium dome over the water, and makes the rock bounce away. It's total lockdown. The circuit breaker is operating, you feel nothing. But what about a cup breaking on a Tuesday afternoon? Because it's a harmless and banal event, the rigid security of your mind relaxes its posture and underestimates the threat. It allows this micro-frustration, this irrelevant drop, to pierce the dome and drip into the water. However, since your cup was already full of unprocessed, millennia-old pains, when this single tiny drop enters, it breaks the surface tension. The dam, finally, bursts. The body collapses. The convulsive crying over the broken glass on the floor has absolutely nothing to do with the dishes. The cup was merely the perfect alibi, the surgical escape valve your subconscious found to safely release the pressure from the dam. In those absurd tears, you are actually mourning your breakup, purging financial anguish, and vomiting up the accumulated exhaustion of the last decade, all meticulously bottled up in an acceptable domestic format. The worst cruelty you can inflict on yourself is to feel anger for being out of control. So, how do we safely reset the circuit breaker without causing a short circuit in the heart? The internet's lethal mistake is telling you to force the pain, trying to hammer the ice. The cure for numbness doesn't begin in the analytical mind. It begins on the skin, through the sensory thawing protocol. While you fight with the mirror screaming, "I need to feel I'm a monster," your amygdala will understand that the lethal danger continues and will keep the ignition off out of terror. You need to embrace your apathy aloud. The next time the hollow abyss slams shut before a colossal event, take a deep breath. Take your hands off the steering wheel and say, "I acknowledge that I feel nothing right now. My body is exhausted, protecting my sanity from a burden I can't handle today. Thank you, mind, for the shield. I officially grant myself permission to be neutral." Next, anchor your brain to the rudimentary reality of your five senses. The rescue of an anesthetized soul always happens in the flesh. Get in the shower and focus 100% of your attention on the exact temperature of the water hitting your shoulders for 10 times seconds. Hold a hot tea and register only the heat burning the palm of your hand. Step barefoot on the floor and map the cold texture of the ceramic. These micro-actions won't instantly make you cry with emotion, but they serve a tactical neurological function. They whisper to your circuit breaker that the electric shock is over. They signal to your primitive biology that the house is no longer on fire, and that it's finally safe to return to your own body. When you stop forcing the emotion, the fear of going crazy disappears, and the mind's security guard relaxes its shoulders. And it is in this unconditional silence of someone who doesn't demand anything of themselves that, mysteriously, the lights in the house begin to flicker. A song sends shivers down your spine. The smell of warm bread awakens a sweet memory and brings an involuntary smile. The system starts to reconnect, one dim light at a time. Your apparent coldness and that grey emptiness are not traits of psychopathy or character flaws. They are simply the profound exhaustion of someone who carried the weight of the world on their shoulders until their bones cracked. Do not fear the darkness and do not force tears just to please the audience. Embrace your numbness as the legitimate and non-negotiable rest of a war survivor. Your most beautiful and profound humanity remains intact, shielded and protected in the dark, waiting with unwavering patience until the harsh winter passes and you feel safe enough to rekindle the light. We'll see you in the next video. And remember, today, your only task is simply to exist.